Hey, if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing. I don't know why I'm doing this. All right, so first let me say that I am petrified of needles. Like, that is no joke, all right? I have a tattoo already, and it was such a mission to get, all right? Now, having said that, I'm issuing a tattoo challenge. Now, a lot of you might be wondering, what is that? Well, there's a link in the description below. Please go check it out. It's called the Tattoo Challenge. In a nutshell, if you guys can get me to 5,000k subscribers before the 16th of August, I'm gonna get a tattoo chosen by you guys. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I decided to do this. Having said that, enjoy the show. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Let's Talk. We're back here on a Friday morning once again with Unathi Kwaza, as you can see on my right. This time talking about what's it called? Social grants. Yay or nay? Do we agree? Do we not agree? Do we need them? Do we not need them? What are they? And how do they benefit? How do they disadvantage society? That's all on the table. That's all things we're hopefully going to discuss this morning. I personally, right from the get-go, I'll say this. I think social grants are useful to help the disabled, to help the elderly, to help people who can't maybe or unable to get jobs and stuff like that. But I kind of disagree when it comes to kids. I think that's a big debate. I know that's a big debate. I like what you said last time on the show, where you said, like, if you have one kid, we'll help you, but if you have more, you're on your own. Like, it's only one kid. I like that. I think that's a fair compromise in this situation. But yeah, there's a lot of disadvantages when it comes to, like, you know, because we have a population problem, and I think that you know, when people fall pregnant, then there's no necessary drive. Not everyone, obviously, but some people don't have a necessary drive to take care of the child, better themselves, and stuff like that. And also, I'm not generalizing. I'm just saying this does happen. And that's where I'm like, we need to find maybe a system to help them in that regard. But yeah, that's my opinion. What's your opinion?
Hi everyone. Well, every action has a reaction, and consequences come from that. So why do we have in Africa? Why do we have women who just give birth to as many children as they want? I think it has to do a lot with lack of good quality education. If you look at more prosperous countries, go to the West, most people in educated middle class income families will have like 2, at the most 3 kids. But it's usually 1, 2, that kind of thing. Not because a government has said you must only have, but because when you have had the privilege of having good education, it means that you spent your youth doing productive things with your life. You were either in singing in choirs, extramural activities, sports. All your time was occupied, and you used it to better yourself. So you don't have time to play around. I always tell people about, I went to school during apartheid. All my schooling was done in that period. We had a lot of things. I went to public schools all my life. We had a lot of extramural activities in schools. We had sports. There were athletics. There was choir. There was church even. And there was a lot of, there was drama. There was just a lot of things that young people, children, grew up with. So there was also the fear that if you ever fell pregnant outside of, while you were still a teenager, obviously you would have embarrassed your parents, and some parents would even disown you for what you did. But nowadays, you don't find that. Again, we go back to community, we go back to family. So all these things are tied together. So now, social grant for me is just an outcome of everything that's wrong way back before people can even have children. So now that we have these children, what do we do with them?
Mm.
Do we just ignore them when the current government has messed up the economy? And that means that their parents will never have opportunities to go and find work, good jobs where they can work for themselves. So what do we do? Because people vote, even middle class people vote for this government, the ANC, they approve of it, even when it's keeping people poorer. What do we do? We have to have social grants, and unfortunately, and I would rather have that than to have more people eating from garbage bins on the streets.
That is true. That is true. Like you said, like I think education is a very important aspect to take into consideration. But I mean, if we really look at the crux of it, if I can put it that way, there's far more. I think society as a whole needs to be fixed in that regard because we need better education, better healthcare, better and obviously once those even those two, just those two, once those are in place, then the society starts to grow. Then you open up the economy, like completely free market. And then you create jobs, it's jobs creation, and so on and so forth. And as the people grow and become better, the economy becomes better. They can afford all those other things that they need, such as like healthcare and all that other stuff. They can own houses, they can own cars, they can own everything they want, as long as they work hard. And because they've been empowered by education, um, they yeah, they'll know better in a sense. So I think that's the biggest challenge for South Africa is to do that.
And Joe, we're not gonna do it when people are still voting the ANC.
Yeah,
The ANC is led by SAT2, COSATU, and what is the other one? It's SACP. So we're not going to have these good things in society if we keep voting for the same people who've been failing us since 1994.
mm,
Of course, in the beginning there were some good things, but that didn't last because by 2008, 7, 8, things had started to go south. And when Jacob Zuma took over, things were worse. But still, people voted the ANC, knowing the kind of man that Jacob Zuma was, knowing the way that Thabo Mbeki was basically removed forcefully from power. And people still voted Jacob Zuma. And, so we cannot, as society, pretend that we are not part of this problem. We are part of the problem because
yeah,
we are not doing due diligence as to checking who exactly is it that we are voting, what do they stand for. So we'll continue now looking like, oh, we're so helpless. What can we do? Who's going to come and save us? And people thought that Cyril Ramaphosa would come and save them. It's not going to happen. It's up to us as voters. What kind of society do we want?
mm,
And so all these things are tied together, and we are also part of the problem if we keep on voting the same people
yeah.
who put us in these situations. And of course, we to change that front. And so, but it's difficult to say to people that you can't have 2 kids, 3 kids if you're poor. It's difficult
They do it.
because,
They
again,
they do it in China. Like it's a law. Like you can't, as far as I understand.
yeah,
Um, like, and
yeah,
that's a
but
scary situation to be in, though. I don't like to make it the law where now you can't have a certain amount of
mm,
kids. That's a scary situation. But at the same time, China is quite populated, so it's I don't know. I don't know where I stand on that one either. I need to do a little bit more research because I've heard horror stories, but
well,
at the same time,
yeah,
yeah, I don't know.
yeah. For me, China, for me, government, any government that gives itself power over people's lives, we are on a slippery slope to a dictatorship, communism, and all those bad things. So, I mean, even now with the lockdown, we are saying that government should not dictate to us what we do. I mean, it's not up to government whether I protect myself from any other diseases, whether it's diabetes, whether it's HIV, whether it's TB, and all those things. It's not government's business.
Yeah.
It's an individual's choice. So why should government do all these things with the claim that they are protecting all of us from corona? And in South Africa, unfortunately, we've seen that it's not about us. It's about comrades doing what they do best, which is to steal from us.
Yeah.
And when media used to clap hands for Zulim Kize and Cyril Ramaphosa, they were saying that you are being nasty. You should support the lockdown. I was not for the lockdown from the beginning, and I'm glad I didn't, because now I mean, it's easy to tell. We've had this government now for 26 years. So are you telling me, with the experience that we have, we didn't know that theft was going to follow? We didn't know that government was going to bring draconian rules. We know these things because we've seen how they work. We've seen Marikana massacre. We've seen the likes of Anders Datane being killed, Collins Causes being killed. So, I mean, we can't continue this way as South Africans to blindly support the ANC and everything that they come up with. We cannot do that, because our future is at stake. If you have kids, your children's future is at stake. Government is now borrowing non-stop. Money that we can't even afford to repay. We'll probably borrow from someone else to pay these people that we borrowed from, which is the IMF, which is the National Development Bank, which is everyone else that we owe. So that is the debt that your children will be faced with when they are older and working.
Yeah, that's if they're even working.
Yes.
Yeah, it's okay. So let's go back to the social grant thing, because there's something I feel that is important to me. Now I know it's not exactly the same in America, where they have something called food stamps, but I feel like almost the principle in terms of like when Trump has taken a lot of people off food stamps. Like, he's improved, well, before COVID, he improved the economy so that more people could have jobs. And I think it's the same concept when it comes to social grants. If you can give people more jobs and take them off of relying on the government, it empowers the people even more so. I agree with you with the voting that we need to take voting very seriously in the upcoming elections. I've said it many times on this channel that I didn't vote in the last election, so shame on me. But I'm definitely going to vote in the next one, and I always say this: I'm not telling you to go vote ZACP or Cape Party or COPE or any. I don't care which one you vote for. Just don't vote ANC and don't vote EFF. That's it. Just vote for whoever, just not those two parties. That's what I always say. And I think it's worrisome because there's some statistics out there that show that people haven't, even though there's some crazy amount of people that registered to vote, but a very small percentage of those voted. So even though people say like, yeah, we voted for this government, I think it's very hard to say like we, in terms of like South Africans, because there's a very small percentage of South Africans that actually voted for it, and it's usually the ones that actually, or I guess the majority. I'm not sure. I'll have to check these statistics, but I have a feeling that it's the people that are on these social grants that voted for the ANC, which is why another reason why I disagree with it, because the ANC is basically buying votes. What's your opinion on that?
It's difficult to know exactly who is not voting, because we have about 20 million people who don't vote. We have 18 million people on social grants. I'm sure it's since millions more people have lost jobs in South Africa, so that number is definitely going up. Unlike the US, unfortunately, where President Trump did his best to improve the economy, and people, especially from black neighborhoods, found jobs. So they managed to get out of the food stamps. You know, if all of us would support the idea of social grants, if it meant that it's actually just it's for a short period of time in your life, and things will improve and you will start being independent financially. But unfortunately, in South Africa, we're finding that more and more people are getting onto the social grants because the economy is not improving. It's been mismanaged since 2009 during Jacob Zuma. Things have become worse under Cyril Ramaphosa. So it's difficult now to say that, okay, it's just going to be a social net for a period of time in your life, and you're not going to be there forever, and your children are not going to. Because now what we see in South Africa is that you'll have a social grant for your child, and the child gets to age 18. So they can't get social grant. But by that time, most of them have started making their own babies who are also going to depend on social grant. So the cycle of poverty is perpetuated. And there's nothing in these young girls that says that, let me wait until I finish school, let me wait until I graduate in college or university. I don't know if there's a lack of role models in their lives, or I suspect there is that. And also young boys, there isn't much, considering that their fathers most of the time are not even with them when they grow up. So it's difficult. Can we really blame children for turning out the way that they do if parents are not the good role models that they need them to be? So it's a vicious cycle, and it's a difficult one because I feel I cannot with good conscience blame children for turning out the way that they do. I mean, I remember there was a school a few years ago, not long ago actually, maybe 2 years, where in I think there's a village in Limpopo where there were like 3,000 girls who fell pregnant in that high school. Some were even as young as 10. And you ask yourself, how did this happen? Unfortunately, as I was talking about the cycle of poverty that continues, you find that when children are born in homes where they were not planned, you find that the parents themselves, like the mother, the father, don't really become full-time, don't take full responsibility for these children. So you find that children are still staying with aunts, children are staying with extended family and all that. So again, are you going to blame extended family for not doing the best job that they can with these children that they didn't plan themselves? So you find that it's easy then that the children get sexually abused and all that, because I mean a 10-year-old can never consent to having sex with anyone. It's just obvious to me. But the problem now in South Africa is that because of the poor policing that we have, you never hear of anyone being arrested. There are teachers who sleep with these girls in schools, and I don't care who says what. You can never consent to sex if you're 14. If you're a teenager, I think by law you have to be at least 16 to consent to having sex. But if this 16-year-old is having sex with let's say a 20-year-old young man, for me that's still wrong in so many levels, because both of them, what do they know about making babies? Because they don't protect themselves. So you have this, I think the last statistics we had on HIV infections, ages 15 to 24 were still problematic, in that this was the age group where we saw many people getting infected. I mean, these are new infections. People who were born after 1994, when things, as far as research on HIV, things had improved. People are encouraged to use condoms, and people are encouraged to abstain from sex until they are ready for it, until they are old enough. Because if you have situation where because of poverty, some of these girls are forced to sleep with older men who will take care of them financially. So if we still have those situations, then it means that there's no you can a young woman can never have power to tell an older man that we have to use sex. So if this older man has most of the power in that kind of transactional relationship, so all these things get to a point where we have these unwanted pregnancies.
Yeah.
So we also don't encourage much. I don't know when last I heard anyone talk about adoption, anyone talk about contraception, anyone talk about even abortion, because that's another choice that people can make. But they have to be educated about it, obviously. They have to have counseling before they can do that, because it's a lifetime change that happens in your life. So you need to be counseled before you can do it.
Yeah.
So all these things just show that our society is broken, government itself is broken. I don't know what Department of Health gets the lion's share of the budget every year, but where are the results? Do we get value for our money, our taxes? No, we don't. So now we end up having to feed children who are unplanned, children of teenagers, children from broken homes. So because we have a useless government, basically.
Yeah, I agree. I think let me go to some of the comments here. So we have Robin Dandelion who's joined us. Thank you, Robin, for joining and tuning in. It's good to see you here again. We have the Dodgy Idealist also saying hi, and Acid Zill is also here. He's asking a question. Acid asks, dictatorship is communist or communists, is it not? I think not exactly. Communism, true communism, as far as I understand, is there is no real leader. If when communism, if it was to really be implemented, it's the people that have the power. There is no government. There is no leader. It's the people that have the power and the people that are in control of everything, and we all work together to basically have the same things. It's everyone's equal, basically. So that's the utopia that everybody always speaks about. So dictatorship is more of a what we're seeing now, basically. There is a difference. And then let's see. Oh, I see. Adaji answered that. So the good, the bad, the ugly has an interesting comment here. In their opinion, they say that the government should pay for maximum of 2 children. After that, they're on their own. I remember in the last show you said 1 child, and then after that they're on their own. S.A. Malcontent also agrees with that. I don't know. I think when it comes to this issue of how do we control, or how do not control, that's a bad word to use, but how do we fix, or how do we come to a solution? I think, unfortunately, because of what you just said, Unathi, the statistics and how things are kind of getting more and more out of control, that maybe if the ANC was now, whoever takes over after the ANC, let's pretend they're good, they want to fix South Africa. I have a feeling that when it comes to this issue, they're going to have to take some very serious, hard, tough decisions. When it comes to this, in order to, because you need to put a stop to it. It can't keep on going, because then it doesn't help. So I think there might actually be a point where whoever the next government is, will say, you know what, sorry guys, 1 kid, 2 kid, that's it. And maybe come up with a program like you said, like, okay, cool, so we're going to help you out for like 6 months, a year max. We're going to put you in a I don't know, we give you counseling, give you whatever, give you some tools, because there's a lot of charities out there that help abused women, women that are suffering from depression and mental illness, and also drug addiction. So it's shelters that take in these women, and when they take in these women, they also rehabilitate them in the sense of giving them a bit of education and a bit of um, know-how and skills, so that when they eventually overcome their demons, they can go out into the world and maybe find a job and be more work better with society, in other words. And I think that looking at maybe a combination of that might help. But yeah, I don't. What do you think?
As you were talking, I was thinking of children of politicians who go to good schools actually, but when they finish, you hear of Andile Ramaphosa getting millions from the taxes and the funds that are supposed to be meant for COVID. You hear of Dlamini Zuma and Jacob Zuma's children who get these top jobs in government. So what are we saying as society? Are we saying that if you are a child of a politician in the ANC or any other political party for that matter, if you are their child, your life is well taken care of because of of who your parents are? We are going to give you jobs that pay like. I mean, think of this woman now, Dlamini Zuma's daughter and Zuma's. When she was much younger than she is now, she got a 1 million a job that pays 1 million. I think she was hired as someone's she was probably fresh from university and she was hired as someone's chief of staff. What did she know about that job? I don't know. Does she have to know anything? I don't think so. So that job paid 1 million, and I hear that for some reason there's now an NYDA board. She's also there. Again, another well-paying position. So we are saying that if you're poor and you don't know your parents, you must you must find your way in life. But if your parents are already rich in the ANC or in politics, your parents are in politics, then your life is set for life. So we have this discrepancy between the haves and the have-nots in Africa. Actually, it's not just South Africa. Africa as a whole. Politicians take as much as they want from our taxes, and their families are well taken care of for the rest of their lives, because unfortunately people who vote keep these people in power. So for me, again, it makes me feel uncomfortable to say that if you are from a poor family, you must find a way in life. Yes, it should be like that, but it should be like that with everyone, not just people who are in higher positions already. So it's a difficult choice to make.
Okay. I think, let's see here. There was a comment that came in. Just let me see this one. Trinta Pinto, thank you for joining. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. Joined late. They're saying, joined late. Have we spoken about the shrinking tax base? The tax burden versus benefits those who pay tax get must be the highest delta in the world. No adequate security, school, etc. That's a very good point. And then also they continue by saying Franz Cronier points out in one of his books that the average taxpayer is working from Jan to May for nothing. That's how much tax we pay, and you aren't getting any benefits for this tax. It's actually a very good point. And I think I don't know the full system of how the social grants work, but maybe you can give your input on that with regards to tax.
Yeah, well, the taxpayers themselves vote for ANC. I will say most of them do, because where do you think Cyril Ramaphosa got 1 billion rands to I mean, it comes to campaign to be ANC president. It comes from big businesses in South Africa that donate into either NDZ or the CR17 campaigns. So the taxpayers themselves put ANC in power. So we can't really complain about not getting value for our money if we keep voting for the same people. And again, it goes to voters themselves. Are we going to continue to be fooled by mainstream media in South Africa? Because these are the people who actually campaign for Cyril Ramaphosa or NDZ at one point or another. Think about Jacob Zuma's campaign. It was mainstream media that actually hated Thabo Mbeki so much. I mean, the stories they made up about Thabo Mbeki, that he's aloof, he's this, he's that. He was not a corrupt man, obviously. And mainstream media was there to campaign for Jacob Zuma. Think about people like, who's that journalist who was embarrassed last year when it appeared that she was actually being bought or paid by some of these people who were in the state capture, Ranjeni Munsami. So these are the people, senior journalists in South Africa. Think about Peter Bruce, think about Stephen Grootes. These are people who campaigned for Cyril Ramaphosa. And I don't know if they had any shame in them. They would actually have apologized to South Africans for misleading them. Because people actually do take, I mean, I stopped watching news over a year ago. I'm going on 2 years now. I just stopped because I realized that it's not helping me. I hate the fact that you'll only be told one side of the story. They will tell you that the DA is racist, Freedom Front is this, AfroForum is that, and you have no say in the matter. They tell you what to think. They don't tell you like how to think. I suppose they shouldn't. You should think for yourself. But they have, I mean, SABC, millions of people every day watch the SABC. So we cannot ignore the impact that they have in society. So one time in 2014, was it 2014? Yes, when Cyril Ramaphosa was campaigning for Zuma's second term, he was on tape in one of the campaigns in Mpumalanga telling old people, if you voted DA, apartheid would be brought back. You know how old people feel. Old people still remember apartheid because it happened not so long ago. So to go there as Cyril Ramaphosa and tell people that if they voted the main opposition, then apartheid would be brought back. And also the ANC leaders have gone to communities and told people who depend on social grants that if you voted another party, then these social grants would be taken away from you. People believe that because they think social grants come from the ANC. They don't. They come from taxpayers of this country who are mainly, I would say, white people, by the way. So to say that social grants will be taken away, apartheid will be brought back if they didn't vote ANC, these are when you don't have another income in a household. So people that's why some people will continue voting the ANC, is because they don't know any better.
It's to me, in my opinion. All right, now I will admit I should get a little bit more or do a little bit more research on this topic. But you said something now that was pricked my ears, if I can put it that way. You said that the majority of tax comes from the whites. That's interesting to me because the whites are the minority in the country.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah. So I think it's like what, 6 million ish, maybe less now.
I think it's 4 now.
4 million. So and even, I mean, we're not, when we say 4 million, that doesn't mean that 4 million now are working. There's definitely a lot of white people who are also in poverty and below the bread line, but like Unathi said, the majority of the tax comes from the white. So let's hypothetically say, conservatively, 2 million of the 4 are working, hardworking, and are contributing the majority of the tax. That's a scary number to think about, because that means that less than 2 million black people are contributing in a almost 60 million population country. So again, I don't know the statistics. I don't know anything, but I'm just saying that sentence was very alarming.
I mean, think about the companies, the big companies that actually pay the tax. Is it companies tax? Those kind of things. Think about those companies, who owns them. It's majority white people, and they contribute the most. I think, if I remember correctly, it was something like 80% of the taxes of that bracket. So that's why I'm saying that most of these people who pay taxes in this country are white.
Okay, I see.
And who owns these businesses, whether
Interesting.
it's small to medium enterprises, whether it's big business, it's white people. And unfortunately, we do have black businesses, but they don't get to be as big as the white business, the white owned businesses. Um, we I don't know what I can say about PE beneficiaries because I don't see much contribution they're making in this country. I don't know what they are building. I don't know what they've been creating. The only thing we see from PE beneficiaries, look at the houses they buy, massive. I mean, who needs to stay in a like 10-bedroom house? What normal human being does that?
10
You
bedroom.
can, yeah, you can do it if you are a Hollywood celebrity, but no one really needs that much space. Look at Cyril Ramaphosa's home here in Cape Town. It looks like a shopping mall, as far as I'm concerned. It's ridiculously big. So these beneficiaries, they don't contribute much to economy. Besides the fact that they spend a lot, but are they building factories? No, they are not. And then they cry about white people owning majority. I mean, there's that statistic that Labour minister loves so much, talking about about white men and who still own a lot of assets in this country. But when are we going to own anything as black people, for instance, if we are not investing in the right places? I mean, look at a person like Malema, for instance. What does he weigh? Look at the Malusi Gigabas, the Fikile Malulas. They buy the most expensive. I think their shoes will be worth over 10,000 a pair. So these are the things they aspire to. They don't want to build anything. What we have in South Africa was mainly developed and built during the apartheid years. So, and the only thing that the ANC had to do was to maintain what we already have. But I look at the SOEs, they have not been doing that. They've only been stealing and destroying through catered deployment. So all these things get to a point where we have to talk about the fact that it's mostly white people who contribute positively in this country, even though people see them. Look, think about the farmers. People will talk about they stole land, but no one will produce any evidence of that. Whose land was stolen? People whose land was stolen did go to claim it, but most of them, 90% of them, never wanted land. They took the money, and it was all gone in no time. So can we continue to blame apartheid for all these things that are happening to black people? People don't want to take responsibility for their choices. You cannot continue to blame the previous regime when we've been in power for 26 years now.
Yes. Well, some people would argue that, like, I've seen this argument many times on Twitter and Facebook, like, yeah, but it's going to take at least another 2 generations to fix the country because apartheid was so bad. Now, I don't know. That's debatable, and I'm not going to be for or against that. I don't know. What I do know...
But what are you doing now
to
ensure
that's what I was going to say.
The future looks brighter?
Yeah.
You're not doing anything. You're buying sneakers. You can be staying in an informal settlement by wear a pair of sneakers that cost 1,500 rand, something that I'll never afford. Or just, for me, it just seems ridiculous to wear such expensive things when I do not have any good investments, when I'm not building anything as a black person. So you can say that it will take 2 generations, but what are you doing now?
Yes.
You're not fixing the education, you're not fixing the public health care, you're not fixing the libraries to ensure that every child has access to books, every child can read. There's no reason why children at grade 1 cannot read, but in South Africa they reach grade 5, they cannot read still.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen even matriculants in grade 12, they struggle to make create a sentence in English, and yet these people will have to go in a few years. They have to go and look for jobs. They have to go to interviews, and then people come up with stories like, oh, it's racism that I didn't get that job, nonsense like that, or someone is bewitching me. No, it's because you're not prepared for the world of work.
You're not
You're
qualified.
unprepared
Yeah.
because of the poor education that the ANC didn't see a need to improve on when they took power.
Yes.
I mean, can you believe that some of these people who are in government today were there in 1976 during the 1976 riots? They were crying for good education, but then in government, in a position of power, they haven't changed anything for black people. So I mean, we can complain all we want, but if we're not making the changes that we need as a government, nothing is going to change. Two generations will pass again, and nothing will have changed because we're not preparing young people today to be ready for work.
Well, going back to that, this whole like, yeah, white people contribute more. That means they have more jobs. I think there's like a misconception, which obviously the ANC has given out, like, the whole white monopoly capital and all that stuff. All these trigger words just to keep us divided, keep people upset, keep people in fear of apartheid, keep people from realizing that your anger, when you get angry with not having a job, when you get angry with not being able to afford things, it's got nothing to do with race. I said it. It's got to do with ANC. The people that are in power are what are the problem, because there are certain policies and there's certain things put in place that keep the poor poor. Middle class is currently being attacked, I think, and the rich become richer. That's the state right now that we are in. So we can argue all we want about who pays more tax and blah blah blah, but I guarantee that if you had someone who, like, I don't know, I did a bit of research on Tibu Mbeki, and yes, some people like him, some people don't, but that's any politician. You're gonna have people who hate him and people who like him or her. But when I was doing a bit of research during his presidency, the unemployment rate was going down, which means that more people were having jobs, empowering themselves, able to afford things. The economy was doing better, and apparently he had paid off a lot of debt that the ANC had. Now, when Zuma came in, unemployment right up. I mean, that's things to take into consideration. So when people tell me like, yeah, it's apartheid's fault, I'm like, yeah, but when Thabo Mbeki was in power, people had more jobs. So how can you still blame apartheid? And I know a lot of people are gonna jump on me right now and be upset, but I mean, it's there. Google it. You know?
Yeah, I mean, not many, even the educated people, not many of them actually understand how policies affect everything in life, basically. Yes, government of the ANC did well for the first few years, and then Thabo Mbeki came to power. Just before he ended his second term, he was removed from power. So that, I mean, it's easy. There's I'll refer people to this YouTube video. David Roth spoke at the Free Market Foundation. I think it was early this year. Yes, after the budget speech that was made by Tito Mboweni. And there's a lot of good information and research that he talks about. And you can immediately see there's like graphs that he uses to explain his point across. So you can immediately see that in 2009 things went south, and it was we started having more debt as a country. Because remember that the way that Jacob Zuma came to power, he had so many people to pay back. So it didn't matter to him that he has to spend all this money just to increase the size of government. He had to spend all this money not to improve infrastructure in South Africa, but he had these policies. Our policies changed when Jacob Zuma came to power because now the unions had more power, and it's still the same thing. In January this year, Cyril Ramaphosa signed into law the national minimum wage. Do people understand the impact of that policy that we have now? If you're young in South Africa and you've never worked, employers may want to employ you, but if remember that bigger businesses don't employ much. It's the smaller businesses that have the ability to create more and more jobs in society. So, but now if you have a national minimum wage in a country like ours with a low skills base, and young people are not properly educated, why would you employ someone and pay them a national minimum wage when you could actually get away with paying them much less? Why don't South Africans ask why is it easy for someone from Zimbabwe, for instance, to get a job in this country than they do? It's not because of anything other than the policies that we have. If you employ South Africans, they have so many rights, they belong to unions, and you have to deal with that as an employer. It's a headache to have to work with unions in this country. So someone from Zimbabwe, Zambia, Malawi, they are not unionized. So, and people say that, oh no, they're being exploited and all that. I'm telling you, if you don't have a job, you'd rather have someone exploit you than to just sit around and not do anything. You don't know where you're going to get your next meal from. And for me to talk about being exploited, it's just a silly thing that middle class unionists like. It's these words that they throw around, and yet when you ask them, is it better than that people stay in townships not doing anything? And then when people are just lounging about, they start thinking about crime, because it's normal, it's natural to want to survive in society. So if crime is the way of survival, they will choose that instead of just wallowing about and not doing anything. Because these people grow up, these men especially, grow up and they have kids of their own. Who's going to take care of these kids? So if daddy can go rob a store, he'll do that to bring food at home, because not everyone can qualify for a social grant. So we have this massive number of people who can't access social grants, and they have to leave. And there's not enough bins that they can scratch and try to find food in, and there are not enough jobs in South Africa. So if these people don't have the power to say to employers, okay, give me 2,000 rands, I'm okay with that, I'll take it. And then government comes and arrests you as an employer, obviously not going to give them that opportunity. Yeah. But employers will take a chance with someone from Zimbabwe, because some of them don't even have papers, but at least they are good at what they can do. And if the job gets done, who cares after all? So we have all these hoops that employers have to jump over when it comes to employing South Africans. And it's all because of policies. Yeah. Unions in this country have destroyed jobs. Ministers of labor, the labor laws in this country are too stringent for employers. Make it easy for employers to fire people they don't want to work for them. Make it easy for that to happen. There's no reason why a teacher who can't teach children is kept on the job, because again, what do you expect those children to do? How do you expect them to grasp the work they're supposed to do if the teachers are not doing their job? Something that you will never find at private schools. They will never keep it. Parents in private schools, they pay good money, but they know their rights. They will never keep a teacher who doesn't perform in school. But when you come to work for government as a teacher, you have a union who is standing in the way between the employer, who is government, and the school government body. And if the union doesn't want you gone, you're not gone. And what happens? No one is talking about the quality of education that these children will be getting. Yeah. So all these things add up to a society where there's a lot of unplanned children. There's a lot of unemployment. The economy is in shambles, like South Africa. And the more socialist policies that we keep adopting as a country, expropriation without compensation is one of such policies. National health insurance is another one that will ensure that the private sector basically, the private sector is currently carrying just about everyone in this country. Because remember, if you talk about private health care, even if you don't have a medical aid, you can still go to a pharmacy and buy or consult a doctor there, and pay whatever you ask to pay, but at least you know you're getting good quality healthcare. But in public hospitals, you don't have that luxury.
Yeah.
And your health is very important. You can't risk and say that, oh, I'm not gonna pay 500 rand for consultation just because if at least you have a job in South Africa, you can still afford that.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Again, like once we solve that job issue and the economy issue, things will start getting better. But again, the lies that the ANC spread, like the president coming on national television and saying the economy is racist. Economy can't be racist. It can't. Policies can, but not the economy.
I mean, he became a billionaire in this kind of economy. How did he make his money? I mean, it's like Oprah these days. She's preaching the anti-white nonsense. I mean, if America is so racist towards black people, how do people like her get to be as rich, filthy rich as they are? It's just a shame that people of her stature would stoop this low
Yeah.
and try to cause divisions in society.
And I know.
And that's not the Oprah I used to know.
Yeah.
But it seems that the woke movement is gathering ground. And that's why we need to keep talking, and we need to keep preaching the truth, even if people don't like that. I mean, people will call you racist just for being factual.
Yeah.
I was watching a morning shot yesterday evening, the one that happened in the morning, and Roman was talking about this person, DA. I don't know if he's a DA MP who's in hot water, so to speak, because he posted a video that comes from a black American.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous, isn't it? Because now water for what someone else said, and all he did was to share because he actually agrees with what this person is saying about the Black Lives Matter movement. And so just because your News 24 doesn't agree with what that black American was saying, so I suppose they had to be angry at someone. And here's a DA person to be angry at for sharing a video. It's becoming so ridiculous. That's why whenever I hear that the mainstream media is running out of money, I celebrate, because these people only bring toxicity to us. There's nothing called news anymore.
Yeah.
It's propaganda. Yeah. And we should just push back, even if we not. That's why I like to support the smaller guys like you, Joe, because you bringing things that you'll never hear. You think that SABC will ever call me for something? They won't, because I'm not. Because I don't say.
Well, you were on Gareth Cliff. So let's be a little bit fair. But again, Gareth Cliff is different.
I refuse to conform to society. I refuse to be populist. I refuse. That's why whenever I see populism rear its ugly head, even in the DA, I always speak out, because we just cannot afford all these lies being told. People now, you'll get into trouble for saying men can't give birth, things like that. You'll get into trouble. And yet, we know this is not going to happen, because you're born a man. If you choose later in life, oh, I want to be a woman, you can do that. But it doesn't make you it doesn't change your inner, the person you are inside. You can do whatever you want these days, but don't tell us to not say that you are a man.
Yeah, well, that's another debate for another time. I just want to go to some of the comments here. Gareth H. Saying, I think he's just stating this. My parents, his parents, domestic worker, said half her mates lost their jobs and were put on part-time. That is happening. Jobs are becoming less and less and less. Acid saying that from 1994 to 2001, this country's economy was growing at about 14%. And then the BEE made everything decline, and now we are sitting at a 7% growth, something to think about. Um, and let's see here. There's some other comments I wanted to look at here. Everyone's saying hi. Dodgy Idealist saying that he agreed with me. I'm not sure for what. And then they're talking about keeping a pool clean. So I don't know if that's code for something. It's a very random. We weren't talking about pools, like swimming pools or whatever. And then Dodgy Idealist says that you're dropping truth bombs. I hope. So yeah. I think what's also worrying to me, and I am actually quite scared of this because you were mentioning now the woke movement, and it seems like they're winning, and Oprah saying what she said and stuff like that. Ramon also mentioned yesterday on I think it was yesterday morning on his show that the ANC wants to try and control the internet. So guys like me, Ramon, Ronaldo, anyone that's on social media, anyone that's on YouTube, anyone that's on the internet, every article, everything has to be vetted, has to be checked, and that is a very, 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 very scary and worrying thing. And we're talking about everything, movies. And let me tell you something. I've been in a country that did that. Not to that extent, but I'll give you an example. Egypt, okay? I stayed in Egypt. The Matrix wasn't allowed in Egypt. I never got to see it when it came out the first time because it was against their religion. They believed that the movie went against their religion and stuff. Now, when it comes to movies, maybe in some countries they can do that fine, but it's still a scary thing, and we're supposed to be, or we hope that the majority of the world becomes a bit progressive as we evolve and as we grow and as we learn things. So putting in a law where now the government gets to check all the content that's putting out there, that's not being progressive. That's regressing. That's a dictatorship through and through. That's where you start controlling art, and that to me is the moment we do that. I fear very much for South Africa. Now, Ramon did state that it's going to be nearly impossible to implement for the ANC, but the idea that they want to do that should worry you.
Yeah. If you check the track record of the Films and Publications Board in South Africa, they have been atrocious in how. Think about the film Inxeba, The Wound, that happened a couple of years ago, and they said that it was pornography, and yet you watch the film and you wonder, where is this pornography they're talking about? Because even the sex scenes that were in that film, I think they were done in good taste. And if people don't want to see naked people, I don't know how do they ever look at the mirror and check out how they look themselves. So think about there was another film, I forgot now what the name was, but I think there was a curious case of I think she was 15 befriending an older guy. And then I think it became a sexual nature. So again, there was an issue from the Films and Publications Board. They didn't want it to be filmed. So these are ANC politicians who get these positions in government. Because remember, when ANC took over, the only thing they wanted to do was to remove white people firstly. And they removed, and most of these white people were people with experience. And look at the SOEs today, because the ANC is obsessed with race, and they're obsessed with you must belong to the ANC, and they don't care about merit. So the Films and Publications Board will have this power now to control everything we do in the internet. I mean, when you think about your show, Joe, or a romance show, or other people, or Menpatria. When you think about the fact that YouTube gives you a platform to actually create content and put it out there for interested people to come and watch, and it's usually stuff that you'll never see in mainstream media, as I was saying earlier. So government now feels threatened because, I mean, think about Natim Teto. Natim Teto is the Minister of Arts and Culture, but he'll never fund, his department will never fund, if you wanted to do a film and you just wanted some money, they will never fund you, even if you're a taxpayer, because they want to know, is that film critical of the government? I mean, for me, it's so distasteful to, in a constitutional democracy, to have so much control by the government. And
Well,
so
here's another example. I know someone who knows someone, so a friend of a friend. So this friend of mine, he's in the film industry, okay, and he knows someone who was part of the film crew, who made the documentary for AfriForum, the last one. What's it? Just disturbed land or something, or disrupted land. So he was like the director of photography or something like that. And Chad, my friend, my actual friend Chad, he said that his friend couldn't. They went everywhere, multi-choice. They went SABC, everywhere, and no one would air the documentary. They refused. They said no, we're not going to because reasons. And then they had to put it on YouTube. That's censorship.
absolutely.
That is absolute censorship. And it's probably because it was made by AfriForum, which I've noticed. I've shared this documentary to some of my friends and on social media, and everyone immediately, oh, it's AfriForum, so it's racist. I mean, really? Like, you're not even willing to be open to the idea that there could be another story, another side to the story, or anything
And
like that?
yeah, and Joe, it doesn't matter to me, even if it's a racist. You need to come to a point in society where you can debate with anyone. Where it doesn't matter how you feel about those people. If you think that AfroForum is racist, then do a debate in a civilized manner and act like adults. And I'm sure somehow you'll find a way to each other. And because now what happens the most is that people howl from the sidelines. I mean, yesterday there was a tweet from Germ, and he was saying that there was this woman who was saying that Germ is using people like me and Yosihle Gomese to drive his agenda. So Germ invited her to his show. At first she agreed, but I said she's not going to come because these people get satisfied with howling from the sides. They will never come to a platform like this one to debate with me, for instance, or with Sihle, or with Jem, or with any person, sane person. They are used to getting likes and retweets, and their vile spreads on the internet, on Twitter, on Facebook. But if you call them to a debate, they'll never come. Malema will never come to your show and have a
As
conversation.
much as I would love to interview.
He'll never come
Yeah.
because he's all about himself. He doesn't want to be challenged, the things that he says, the rubbish stuff that comes out of his mouth. And they're all the same. So I wasn't surprised today to hear that this woman she's no longer interested in going to Jam's show. I mean, that's how they operate.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of them. I mean, I've even called out some people that are woke and or disagree with me, and I say, "Come on my show. Come on my show. Let's talk." Because I want to have that conversation. I mean, I don't
Absolutely.
mind being challenged with my beliefs or my ideologies or my views, and you should feel the same. Let's come to some understanding and some maybe compromise. We'll learn from each other, and that's how we move forward as a society. Choosing a side and being absolute does not solve anything. And what the woke don't understand, in my opinion, is that in my world, the woke are far left type of people. Just like there's far right, like far right, and the far right are also guilty with some of the things that the woke do. They have a lot of similarities, but they're just on opposing sides. I don't agree with the far right, and I don't agree with the far left. I'm very much like in the middle. And how I got there was by debating people, was by having conversations, was by putting myself in uncomfortable situations, even though it's against my ideologies and views, so that I can understand people better. But anyway, We've gone over an hour, and I don't know if you have a busy day, but I like I said before, I like to keep these conversations to an hour. So there, some people are leaving now. So
Yeah.
let's keep it there. I don't know if there's anything else you want to. I mean, do you want to meet again next week, Friday, same time, same place?
Yes, let's make it. Yeah, I mean, we can finalize over the week
Yeah.
that
What topic?
yeah. There's always a lot to talk about. That's the beauty of South African politics or society in general.
Yeah.
There's a lot to talk about. We can talk about the food tech ANC Fridays.
Yeah, why not? We'll see. Sorry, Grim, you're tuning in just at the end. I'm sorry, Grim, but thank you for joining in. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. It was great to see you guys interacting with us. But here, you see, this is what I'm also talking about. Eleutheria saying, I lost a Facebook friend, because, yeah, friend, over Afriform exposing exposing the BEE system for relief funding. Friend called them racist. I said, no, actually, here's the proof. And then they unfriended me. Yeah. The mainstream media, ANC, has done a very good job of making certain organizations look bad. They're very good at doing it, and that's why, like, when people see all this stuff behind me, they get triggered because they're like, oh, how can you have Gareth Cliff in the background? You're a racist. No, this stuff is in the background to piss you off. Whoever's pissed off from seeing this, good.
Yeah,
But
I
doesn't
mean,
mean that I agree with them.
yeah. I'll end off with Thomas Sowell's quote when he says that racism is like ketchup. You can put it just about on anything. And whenever you ask people for evidence that if they call you a racist and then you ask for evidence, they say that proves that you are a racist. So we shouldn't be deterred by people who call us whatever they call us. I mean, I get called names by black people, by the way. And it doesn't stop me from doing what I do. I know what I'm on social media for. I'm here to advance liberty. I'm here to advance the cause of individual liberty. We need to respect, if we respected individual liberty, then we would actually treat people like human beings. We'll remember that it doesn't matter what color of the skin of this person that I'm dealing with is. The fact is they're human and they deserve respect just like I do. So we must continue the cause and we must just keep going. Being called names is not the worst thing that can happen to you. For me, the worst thing that can happen is to be prevented from saying what I say. That's why I don't like it when Twitter starts controlling me and what I say and they will threaten me with we'll suspend you or those kind of things. Sometimes they do suspend me, but those things don't bother me. I'll be back if they say 12 hours. Sure. I'll use another platform to spread the word.
Parlay. Apparently, Parlay is a good app to use for.
I tried that, but when I tried to register now and put on my number and email, they didn't accept. I don't know. I don't know if it was just that day, but I never tried again.
Nice.
But I like being in the sort of in the trough and in the pig. I don't know. There's a word that Helen Zille used to use for Twitter, but I like being there to challenge people because people can get away with believing nonsense and they never hear the other side of the story. So I'm here to tell the other side because there's so many. We come from different ooh, the dogs. Yeah, I don't know what they're doing.
No, it's all right.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Just finish what you were saying.
So I like being here on the swamp. Yeah, that's what she called Twitter. It's a swamp. I like being there because the young people were so misguided by the EFF or by the ANC or by. I mean, someone was celebrating the fact that an old man. There was a picture of an old white man on this week who was bloodied from a farm attack.
Saw, yeah.
So someone was saying that this is nothing compared to what our fathers faced. And these are young people who've never been under apartheid. These are young people. I mean, how can you judge one person you've never even met? How can you judge them by what happened to your ancestors?
But
You
also
don't even
that,
know the whole story. You don't even know the whole story of your own ancestors because some of them had relationships with people from other races. But you ignore that. You choose one side,
yeah.
and it doesn't make sense to me.
And also, like, on that note, like, this mentality of, like, well, my ancestors, even if you knew, even if you've heard stories from your parents telling you what happens in your past, and maybe this is an upbringing thing, I don't know, but even if that's the case, we can't use history as a weapon, and that's what these people
Absolutely.
do. They say, like, well, now you know how it feels. That's not something that's going to help us progress and get over what's happened to us. We need to accept what's happened to us in the past and say, okay, how do we better ourselves? And going around saying, well, now you know how it feels, is a very childish, narrow-minded way of looking at it. You can't go through life doing that, and I think it says a lot more about their mindset and their character when someone says something like that. It's obviously to get a reaction, get a bit of attention, and also, like, maybe to some extent they do believe it, but at the same time it's like, well, you're not someone who's going to help us move forward. You are someone that wants to live in the past and constantly just bring everyone down. And those are the kind of people I don't really want to deal with. I like to understand them and why they're coming. Like, I get there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of emotion, there's a lot of pain. There's definitely a lot of pain. I get that, but I think when we try to speak to people about this stuff, we do have to handle it with care. But there is a limit, and there is, like, I want to try and get people to realize there's a difference between learning from history and using it as a weapon. And people just don't seem to see the difference. But anyway, okay, so final comments before you go, or before we go. Let's see here. Mr. Punisher saying, sorry I'm late. Unathi looks beautiful as always.
Thank you.
I thought we'd leave on a happy note. So, um,
Just one quote again from Thomas Sowell. He says that the past happened. What's important is what can you do today to make sure that the future is brighter. So I will end on that note. And every day I wake up and I ask myself, what can I do today to make South Africa better? What can I do today to make myself, my family better?
absolutely. Same here. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. Unathi will be back here Friday, 11 o'clock. Still working on a name, but I like Protect ANC, but I feel like that has a shelf life. So, because what about when ANC is no longer in power? Then what are we going to call it?
Yeah.
But I like it. We'll see.
But let's milk it while we still can.
Yeah. All right, Unathi, don't go anywhere. And as for everyone else, I will be back tonight at 9 o'clock discussing with Yanni, a tech guy. He's very much into tech. We will be discussing the dark web. Very much looking forward to that. So please tune in 9 p.m. tonight. And if I don't see you then, stay safe, be kind to one another, and I'll see you at the next one. Cheers. Hey guys, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and a share. That's how my content gets out there. Also, don't be afraid to comment. I usually do respond to the comments in the comment section below. If you want to support my channel, please go to the link in the description below, support my channel, and you'll be taken to my website, which has all the details. Also, if you're new to my channel, please subscribe. Also, feel free to check out the links below to my social media accounts. Give me a follow, and I'll see you at the next one.